Hello guys, my name is Gavin, and this will be a video on how to make a treasure chest with random loot, but when you actually open up the box, it's going to display a random object in the game. So like if you open the box and a random object is, let's say, gold, it'll be gold in the game, except I'm not going to be using a replica gold. I'll be using like a cylinder or something. Alright, I'm just going to get started. So to start off, what we're going to do is I'm just going to hit S and X on this cube down here, S and X, like this. And I'm going to go into edit mode by clicking down here. Let's click on this face select right here and right click on the top face like this. Let's now do W and then inset faces just a little bit. I'm going to right click on this face in the middle and drag it down like so. And I'm going to go back into object mode. So if we hit P, we can see our box is going to look like this. Okay, let's now do spacebar and then add a cube again. We're going to drag this cube out S and X to be roughly the same width as our box. And hit S and Z to scale it down like this. And let's drag this towards the top of our box right here. Okay, now that we have this, let's go into edit mode. I'm going to right click on this back face, make sure the green line is facing forward. And let's do mesh, snap, and then cursor to selected. Let's go into object mode. And let's do object, transform, origin, the 3D cursor. Okay, so now that we have that, let's do R and X so we can see our box can open like this. Okay, now that we have that, what I'm going to do is hit 3 to go into our side view. And on frame 1, what I'm going to do is do I and then lock rotation. Then on frame 10, so I'm going to select frame 10 down here. I'm going to do R and X, rotate it back a fair amount, and do I, and then lock rotation. And let's set the end keyframe to 10 like this. So we should see our animation will play like this. One thing I forgot to mention is you should parent it before you animate it. I made that mistake right here. I apologize. Okay. And what we're going to do is I'm just going to select it at frame 10 for a second. I'm going to right click on this cube or base of the box and do object, snap, and then cursor to selected. And let's do spacebar and then add a, what are we going to do? Add an empty object, sorry. This empty object will be a cube. I will scale it down a fair amount. And I'll hit 7 to go in the top view. And what I'm going to do is rename this empty object as spawn point, like this. Okay. Now that we have that, what I'm going to do is go into our second layer like this. And I'm going to do spacebar and then add a surface sphere. This surface sphere will be, I'll convert it to a mesh by doing Alt and C and convert it to a mesh. And I'll scale it down just a little bit more. Alright, and once we have that, I'm going to rename it as circle, or actually sphere like this. Okay, I'm going to add, let's say, a red coloring to it. So our sphere will now be reddish. Alright, I will now do spacebar and then add a cube like this. S to scale it down, drag it up. Let's add a new material to this. This material will be blue. I will rename this as, let's say, cube all lowercase. The sphere lowercase and cube lowercase. Alright, let's now go back into layer 1. And what I'm going to do is go from defaults to game logic and go from Blender render to Blender game. And on our empty object, what I'm going to do is add an always sensor. Click these first 3 dots. And add a spacebar, or keyboard sensor, sorry. Let's select space as the name, or type space, click tap, and let's put the spacebar key in here. Let's then add a Python controller. And connect it like this. And the last thing we're going to do is hit shift and right click on the edge of our box, or the lid of our box. Add an action controller. And let's, action actuator, sorry. And set the start keyframe as 1, the end is 10. And let's put our cube action, or the lid cube action, inside like this. Alright. I'll just actually rename this as open like this too. So we've got our spacebar sensor and our open actuator. Okay. What we're now going to do is do templates, Python, and then game logic simple, like this. Delete the portion that I've highlighted and hit Control and scroll up on your mouse to make your text larger. And rename this to script.py. Alright, so I'm going to add the script right here. And I'm going to define the spacebar. Space is going to equal content sensors space. And I'm going to define open is going to equal const.actuators open. Okay. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to import the scene or get the scene. So let's do scene is going to equal bg.logic.get current scene like this. And also what I'm going to do is get a list, and this list will equal cube like this, and then sphere like this. Now, if you remember, if we go back into layer 2, that's what the names were equal to. So cube and sphere, or I said those backwards, but okay. All right. Next, what we're going to do is import random as well. So let's import random. And we're actually now going to do it so that if we press the space bar, so if space.positive, what we're going to do is let's have it set random choice. Actually, I'll just have a variable called choice is going to equal a random.choice of list. So it's going to choose one of these two items within this list. And what we're going to do is do scene.addObject. We're going to do choice. We're going to do it at the position of own, or essentially our spawn point object. I'll put it in for a time of 100. So actually, I'll put in a time for 10 initially. So what should happen is if I hit P and press the spacebar, we'll see it'll choose a random item, whether it be a cube or a sphere. Whoops. Like this. Alright, I might actually scale those objects up just a little bit. Scale it up and scale it up. Go back into layer 1. We can see random objects like this. And I'll set the time to, let's say, 50. What we're now going to do is do const.activates open like this. So what should happen is I'll actually go back to frame 0 by hitting Alt, then scrolling up to go back to frame 0. We should hit P, and there will be a random object like this, inside like this. Alright guys, this is how you add a random item into your inventory or your treasure chest with Python and the Blender game engine. I hope you find this useful. I will actually show you guys the script just for one more second. Alright guys, hope you found that useful.